Welcome to your weekly Mom Escape, a space where you can kick back, relax, and teleport to the world of me time. So grab your favorite drink and come escape with us.
Hey, Mom Squad. Welcome to the Mom Street Podcast. I'm Tiffany.
Nikki.
I'm Tramika.
And I'm Marion. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, leave a little comment, join in the conversation below, and hit that notification bell so that you and the mom that you care about can be with us next week for your weekly Mom Escape. So, our last episode was a little juicy. And so, we had to come back for a part 2. So, here we are. Part 2 of expectations versus reality. Today we're finishing up with friendships, but then we're going to move on to spouses, significant others, lovers, and all the things. All right, y'all. So, Jamaica, I'm going to put it to you because you said that you wanted to talk about a time when you weren't that great of a friend.
Oh yes, I did mention that. Being a bad friend. I'm over all of it. Like from the last episode and thinking, and then I'm just like, you know what? I'm just over all of it. It's just so a lot. That's why I never really had a whole lot of friends because it's just relationships are a lot. But okay, so the time that I was a bad friend, so I relocated here for to Atlanta, and I had got to know this young lady at church, and we started hanging together like outside of church. We did a double date maybe like once or twice with a guy she was dating. But anyways, we became like super close. But she was single, she had no kids, and I feel like that's important for where I'm going. And I'm married, had 3 kids. And so it would be a lot of times where she would want to like do stuff, but I couldn't. Like I have to schedule my stuff out. Like I'm not more so now, but I'm not always been or 100% been like the person that's just like, hey girl, you want to go to the mall real quick? Nope, because I already know I'm about to cook dinner in 10 minutes. I gotta iron my man clothes for work in the next 15 minutes. Like I already have this stuff mapped out, literally to the point where it's like, okay, I can sleep until such and such time, get up to get this done by. And so that lifestyle just didn't work for me. But I remember somewhere between the friendship, her dad had passed away. And when I first initially found out and she told me, I called her. Like I called her, we talked on the phone, asked her how she was doing. And then after that, I text her like every single day. And so I remember us having a conversation. We kind of had fell off for whatever reason. And then, I don't know who asked who to lunch, but we went to lunch and we were like discussing like where the fall off was. And come to find out in our conversation, she was upset because I wasn't calling her every day and I was texting her. Now I done probably said it a billion times to everybody around me. I'm a texter, but I didn't originally communicate. So that's why communication is so important to me now because I've seen friendships kind of part ways or could have been closer than what they were because the communication wasn't there. I didn't know to communicate that. And so that was what she needed, but she didn't communicate it to me either. But I did feel like really bad because she was like, you they weren't calling me. And she was like, you weren't coming to my house like to check on me. And I'm just like,
this was just regarding the dad, right? Not in
just
general.
regarding
Okay.
the dad. And so she was just like, and you didn't come to my house and check on me and stuff. And I had to sit there and break it down to her. We had first moved to Atlanta. And when we first moved here, my husband was supposed to be working 2 jobs. And I took a pay cut to come to Atlanta. But then when we got here, one job was too far. If you know about Atlanta, the traffic is crazy. And we didn't know that. And so one job was too far. So he had to chop it because it wasn't worth it. And then the other job, they didn't transfer him. So we went from basically 3 paychecks to just one, and it was a pay cut. And Atlanta costs more than what North Carolina costs. And so I'm like, girl, I even have gas to get to work. Like barely, I couldn't come all the way to your house. Like she lived in Atlanta. And so when I started explaining that to her, she kind of understood, but she was still like kind of upset that I didn't show up for her in this way. So I felt really bad, but that's why, communication is so important because I didn't know that's what she was looking for. Then
Mm-hmm.
okay, we back on good terms, right? And she's in school, and so she graduates, and she's having this graduation party. And when she told me about the party, we had already planned to go out of town as a family. And so I couldn't come to the graduation party. So she just like, this heifer ain't showing up for me none of the days, right? And we kind of like stopped talking again. But the reason why I couldn't go to the graduation party was because our old pastor that was in North Carolina, she had cancer and she went through remediation and all that, and they were doing like a surprise party for her because they like, we didn't expect for her to live. So it was like a cancer-free / birthday surprise. And that was like our spiritual mom. Like that was important.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that her graduation was not. And so to this day, we'll communicate sometimes, but we're not as close because what she needed, I couldn't
You
give her
can't
what she
give.
needed.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Was she mad when you told her the reasoning of why you couldn't come to the graduation party? That you had
I won't
pre-planned for that?
I won't say mad, but upset still, yes. Hmm.
Mm, well.
Yeah.
I would have
So
understood,
that was the
but
times
okay.
that I was
Exactly.
a
I would
bad
understood
friend. At
too.
least in her eyes, I was a bad friend. And I could have scraped up some money like to go to her house and stuff like that if I know that's what she really needed. But my thing was I was showing up for her in a way that I knew how, which was like making
Yeah.
sure I don't text people every day, like texting her every day and stuff. But
But that's
in
hard
this
even when
particular case,
someone
it wasn't good enough.
but it's hard when someone's grieving, period. Everyone grieves completely different. So, like you said, it's probably a communication thing. Because
Listen,
Hmm.
some people may not
because
wanted
I
to
don't
call or
like that.
text.
I don't want to check in.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
What you don't like, Marion?
Yeah, I don't when I'm grieving, I don't want everybody in my face. I hate that. Like people come to the
Yeah.
house and all that, like go away. Like, thank you for
Mm-hmm.
reminding me every second of my life that
Yep.
I lost somebody. Appreciate it. Like,
But some
Mm-hmm.
people
but
seek that
so
attention. So
Yeah.
I got questions because I was going to share a similar story. I didn't know what your bad friend experience was. I was like, I should probably, because I just felt like I didn't want to come off in the last episode like I was a victim. Like I never want to sound like that. Like I was speaking my piece, but I also said multiple times, like I know I didn't show up for those folks the way that they needed either. But I also
hmm
have like I said at the end, my takeaway was just I'm still processing, I'm still learning, I'm still evolving. And so I have questions. Like I need y'all to teach me what this whole friendship thing's supposed to be. So because my first question is, did she have other people coming to her house and calling her? Or was it like y'all had in Atlanta and she didn't have nobody else if you didn't
Good
do it?
point.
So she had family here, like her mom
And
lived here, and no, did her mom? Maybe her mom didn't
mm,
live here. She had two sisters, I think, that lived here. I don't know that she had many friends. We both kind of relocated. She was from Florida, so
mm,
she did have other friends though, but I don't know who else was showing up or if they were or not. I don't know.
yeah. Because and y'all can tell me if I'm trash for this, but this is like a legit thought that I've
Not
had
trash.
is no, for real. Like if I'm trash, I'm trash. Tell me and I have to fix it. But
Let's hear
when
your
I
trashy
wasn't showing
friendship
up the
thought.
way people yes. When I wasn't showing up in a way that people needed me to, they had several people who were. And so I'm like, why is it this huge thing that you have to come down on me as if you don't have anybody? And
Maybe they like
I
the
mean,
way
and I'm
that
not
you
trying to
show
make
up,
it,
though, Marion.
Yeah.
but like you not just out here with nobody checking on you.
But like
That's
Tramika
fine.
said, they may
But
have
they,
liked
I feel like
you.
I guess it's the way I feel like the way it was addressed, huh?
No, I was agreeing with Tramika that it may just be you. You may, whatever the
Yeah,
situation may be, totally different than everybody else. And then that's why they feel
yeah.
like, whatever it may bring, you may bring a piece of humor
Because the
to it, a piece
way,
of whatever.
But some
mm,
people are just immature and they'd rather go not people there.
Oh, Nikki.
Y'all didn't hear me?
Yeah, broke up a little bit. What did you say?
A little immature in that sense, and they would rather take roll call of the
Mm.
people who were not there instead of
Mm.
just paying attention and appreciating the people who were there.
That's why
Yeah,
Yep.
I
I asked
definitely
that.
think that that's a maturity, a place of maturity for sure. I
Mhm.
agree.
That's why I asked
Because
that.
I
Like, it's
even had
not
to
that
get
I
to
was
that point
looking
before.
for.
Oh, go ahead, Mary.
Mhm. I was not. It's not that I was looking for an excuse to just do whatever. But if it were me, I would just focus on who was around and just I accept people for who they are. And I'll be honest, if something is going on, whether it be a death, somebody sick, or whatever, um, I am the friend where you say, Marion, I don't have it in me to cook. Can you cook my family a meal? And absolutely I will. Marion, my car broke down on the side of the road. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. Will you come get me? Absolutely I will. But for me to insert you into my daily habits, I can't do it. I cannot do
Yeah.
it. It just doesn't work. Like when something first happens, I probably would be like Tramika, texting every day, how you doing, this and the third. You might get a phone call just so I can hear your voice, so I can be convinced that you're okay. But I'm gonna fall off after a while. Like I can't. It's not something that I can sustain. But if you
Well, you know
call
what?
and
One
say,
thing I was
"Hey, I need you," no, go ahead.
And no, I feel you, Mary. And then one thing I just thought of as we're talking was I in a situation, it wasn't like a death or anything, but I remember it was good news. I had some good stuff going on in my life, sharing it out. And, people grab, blah, 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 blah. And it was somebody who just nothing. Now, granted, I still was like, well, damn, what's up?
Mm,
Like, why is this person not, even though I still appreciated everybody else giving those congrats, giving the whatchamacallit and everything, but it was still just like, well, I expected at least something from that person. So I think it just kind of it really is a person thing. Because if it was someone else I didn't care for, I probably would not even cared if they sent me a congrats or not. I'm up anyways. But it was someone
mm,
that I expected for them to do that. Again, expectations
yeah.
versus reality. Here's a great example of it. And it did not happen. And I questioned at first. I was like, well, then my philosophy is like, well, bump that hoe. Like, forget I'm gonna live my best life and keep it moving. So I'm upset a little bit. Then it's like, well, forget you then. So, that's a prime example of that.
I think that it, like Nikki mentioned, that it is a place of like maturity and just a place of growth, period. Because I remember times in my life where I focused on people who might have something negative to say about me or people who weren't in my corner versus just really paying attention to the people who were. And it took me being hurt so many times and like really being bothered to get unbothered and say, like, hey, these are the people that's showing up with me. So I remember even in that season, and it's so funny because you could tell what a person is going through by what they're posting and sharing on Facebook. But I remember even in that season, I was sharing stuff like rock with who rock with you. Thank y'all for loving me back. Like it was stuff like that where you really just have to pay attention. And I think for me in my situation, it wasn't that I wasn't dwelling more on the people who weren't showing up for me. It was just like I want all y'all to show up for me because all of y'all were a part of my friendship circle. And when you recognize that, I think that it is definitely a place of maturity and growth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so not to beat a dead horse. Last question. Is it Can there be a difference or should there be a difference between people who are not showing up or people who just show up differently?
What?
I was gonna say
Meaning
yes,
like,
if I understand the question correctly.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
what I was
So
like.
like just because they're not showing up the way you want them to or the way everybody else is, does that always mean that that person doesn't ever show up for you?
No.
No, yeah, no.
or do they just show up in their own way?
Yeah, just
And
their
is
own
that
way.
something that should be considered?
It is something that should be considered, but I think there needs to be some type of common ground, or what, like I talked about in the last episode, like meeting each other at the expectation, right? Like meeting in the middle, because you can say, okay, this is all I have the capacity to do, and then you can say, this is what I need you to do, but I want to maintain the friendship. So can we meet in the middle somewhere? And I think that again, that's communication,
Yeah.
that's compromise, and that's working together if that's what you both want, but it has to be mutual on both ends, I believe. I
I
wanted
Mm-hmm.
agree.
to I wanted to share too. I don't have all the information. I'll have to go back and listen to it. But one of the things, Nikki had sent me a podcast and I was listening to it, and they talked about different something that I talked about last week with last episode, when I was saying like, hey, I want to have like these solid foundations. And they were literally talking about, and I have to go back and finish listening to it, but they were literally talking about like it's okay for your inner circle to evolve, because it's gonna evolve to the people that you need in the present moment or in that season of your life. Was the gist of what they were saying. But two different people talked on this podcast and they explain like the different levels of friendships, and one person said there's the levels are inner, friends, participation, and exchange, which I thought was really good. And then the other person said there's an inner layer, outer layer, seasonal, and social. And I thought both of those explanations of friendships were really good and kind of put perspective to how you're looking at different relationships in your life, when you like may have this expectation that this person is in my inner circle, when really no, you're just in an exchange relationship with them, or you're in a social relationship with them. So I thought that was really good and I wanted to share it.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point too. All right, y'all.
Hmm.
So we talked about our friendships. We talked about friendships. What about those that we are married dating to, dating, loving on, all of that? Do you guys think that the expectations versus reality are similar? Do you see how they're different? What are your thoughts when you talk about those personal dating together relationships?
I ain't got
Mary,
no comment.
Man, I saw your eyeballs go to the side. Nikki, what is your comment? We haven't heard much. Y'all, we know, look, we having some technical difficulties today, y'all. Just work with us though. So, Nikki, what do you gotta say
Hmm.
here?
If y'all can hear me, can y'all hear me?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay. So in dating, I'm not married, but I think in dating, or I want to say you'll probably I don't know, than friendships. Um, but mostly because when you go into relationships, first of all, you're already going with this list of things. You go in with this list of things, and for a significant amount of time, normally everyone's bringing their representative to, um, and who the real person is, or um, who they really are. And then it could be bigger disappointment, because if you're in love with this person and this person is supposedly in love with you, we really expect them to make the changes that we want them to make.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep.
And the mistake is when they don't make the changes as quickly as we like them to, we tend to equate that with whether or not they truly love us.
Hmm.
Mm.
And sometimes that is really not the case. It's just um, in their part of the journey.
That's really good. Um, I would
Mhm.
say that I agree to that. Whew, I should have probably went last. So in my first book that I wrote, I started off my chapter on marriage is I was told all lies.
I heard that.
Because what I thought that it was gonna be. But I guess the question go back to before I even say all that, like where are we getting these expectations from? Like who's telling us this stuff and we believe it
Mm-hmm.
because we done read it, we done heard it from a grandmama or the aunt. Like we gotta really check where we're getting the expectations from. But mine, like I talked about last episode, mine came from books and movies and TV shows because I kind of engulfed myself to escape out of my normal world, my real world reality. And so that's kind of where I got my expectations from. I had this big ideal and picture of what I wanted marriage and family to look like prior to going in, prior to knowing who he was going to be, all of that. Like I just had, and I needed this picture to go the way I had it in my head. And when it didn't, there was huge problems. Like I had problems, a lot of problems. And to be honest, I mean, I've been married for 17 years this year and I'm still working through some of those expectations because as you grow and evolve together, it's still like, bro, I done told you how many times I gotta have something with my eggs. So my expectations is you heard me the other 10 times and you gonna put some grits with the eggs or some cheese with the eggs. And don't just bring me a plate of, I don't like plain eggs. Like, and so it could be
Me
something as
either.
simple as that. Yes, like it could be something as simple as that. And then you gotta kind of wipe that out of your head because who like that's not fair to have that expectation. Like we're all
Mhm.
human. So that's where I'm gonna stop at with mine because I can go real deep when it comes to the whole marriage expectation versus reality thing. What about you, Tiffany?
I think that I think it's the same. Like, I think I have more expectations within the spouse than with the friends because it's also a thing of, like you said, like you kind of know how I am, you know what this is, so why aren't you doing it, right?
Mhm.
Um, and I think it can go so many ways. It's a communicate because you can communicate it. Doesn't mean it's gonna happen. You still gonna have
Mhm.
your expectations, you know. But then it's like sometimes it's taking a step back and remembering like that may just be who that person is, even though I don't like it. He may not like it, but it's like in order to kind of get over it, because I'll get myself in a whole hissy tissy fit, whatever you want to call it, because I'm like, I like things, and it's not going that way. And then I realized, you know what? I'm getting myself all hyped up and I'm stressing my own self out. And my husband could give a hoot. He over here watching TV, cracking up, having the time of his life while I'm sitting over here stressing and I'm fussing. That's usually what the men say. You over there fussing and carrying on. So I'm very much a work in progress. I think my expectations in marriage are definitely higher here. And then, what I'm expecting and such. And then, and not saying like he, clearly, meets those expectations, but I think one thing that we've learned in one of our previous podcasts too was again with the ADHD part. And it's dope because I bought the
Mhm.
book that Marion suggested you guys. Well, I think we did that offline, but she suggested a book. So
Yeah.
I'm able to drop the comments below. And since I've opened up with him and just talking about that, he's then has shared like a video with me he found, and it was like, how does an ADHD mind work? So he sent it to me. He's like, like me on
Mm.
an average day. So I was just like, oh, I'm like, it was like someone, he was literally, this guy was walking through his like car, but in the midst of the car, he sees something on the counter and he sees this and he's like, oh, I gotta go back and do this and da 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 da. And it was just, everywhere and everything. And at first I was like, well, my brain's everywhere too. I got 10,000 things. I was not willing to accept it or hear it. I'm just like, you know what? That's
Mhm.
me too. Da 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 da. And it was just like, hold on, Tim. Like, how about we take a little step back? So it's sometimes like the way they operate, how people operate. And it's the same with me. There's things that, he feels a certain way about myself. And it was one time we just had a deep conversation and it was just like, yo, that's just the way I operate. That's just the way I am. I can't change it. Right. This is
Mhm.
who I am is not going to change. This is who you are. Like if he's saying this is how I am. And certain things is trying to figure it out. But those expectations, I feel like that's going to be continuous, maybe on different levels, but it's going to be continuous until we're little old people and sitting in our rockers on the porch or something and such. And I'm just definitely a work in progress. And it's I've got to scale it back in order to delimit my stress while he having his fun, laughing and joking on the TV shows. I need to be laughing and joking on the TV shows too, and not worry about my expectation of something. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. What about you, Marion?
Well, I'm just taking in what y'all saying because I've been single for a very long time. So I don't have the opportunity to like the push and pull to figure this out and all of that stuff. So I'm just kind of taking stuff in. I have, as I'm sitting here listening to y'all though, I have realized that I have a little bit of hypocrisy that I gotta work on. Cause I put a note because all these ideas that I'm taking in goes in my playbook that I mentioned before.
Mhm.
So um I realized that I am somebody who wants to be loved for who she is. Um and and I don't want to be, I don't want to be with, whether it be with a man or with friends, but I don't want to be with people, surrounded by people who wish I was something other than what I am. I want people who
Mm.
appreciate me for me. And so when it comes to these expectations, I'm realizing that I have to do the same thing. And sometimes I do. Sometimes I'm really like extraordinarily good at that. But when it's something I really want, I can see where I might fall short. So I'm just,
What do
like
you
I said,
mean
I'm
when it's
taking it
something
in.
you
I've
really
been
want?
I've been single for over a decade. So you said what?
What do you mean when you say when it's something you really want, it will be whichever you were saying?
Um, or like even like the thing that Tramika brought up about the eggs. I don't even eat eggs, but if I say something that simple, like it's a simple fix. Like, you know,
Child.
um, why are you so busy playing eggs unless you want to make me
Child.
upset? Like what is this?
Well, you gonna have a whole
But
lot of
also
things that you
like
gonna think simple fix in
Yeah,
marriage, and it's not. I mean, and then you get to a point where you just let the expectation go. Like clearly he likes eggs by itself and
yep.
he thinks he's feeding himself. So we
yes,
just gonna go with it, Tramika, and we just gonna go to the refrigerator and get your own cheese because and that's what I do because it's just like
yeah.
I'm gonna let this one go. I'm gonna let it go.
And you know what? Michelle Obama, in her first book, she had this example, which I try to be mindful of. And she talks about how Barack would leave, she's a tidy person, how he would leave his socks and everything around, and it would just irritate her. And then she said she kind of got to the point that she was like, but you know what? I'm thankful he is leaving his socks around. Not thankful he's leaving his socks around, but I'm thankful I have him in my life and I can see those socks being left around.
Mm,
So she kind of put it that way of, it could be these crazy dirty socks all over the place, or he may not even been my husband, may not have been, the father of my children. So that was the way she had started to, think of things and such. And so I tried that at one point and it worked for like a, excuse me, a day. And I was like, bump this. Ain't somebody trying to see no dang on dirty ass socks all over the floor. But I was trying to think like her, and I saw the point of it. Like, you know
oh
what?
gosh.
He does everything else though. That's the other part where I'll say, if I'm expecting this and it's not, I'm like, but look, he'll go do my daughter's hair. I say he go ahead and still cook a whole dinner.
Okay, hairdresser.
Yes, he knows how to do the little girl hairdos and everything. So then I've been trying to work on that too. It's just saying rather than nitpicking on some of those other things, is then, you know, being appreciative of those other things that he does, even
Mhm.
though my expectation is this and such. So it's, I don't want to say bound, but yeah, trying to, and it's, yeah, that's Shamik said, that's a whole nother, a
And I
whole,
think the older that you kind of grow in marriage and in a relationship, and it could just even be with your friends too, right? I do, going back to what you said, Tiffany, have more expectations of my marriage though, because that's like my forever person. That can't change, but friendships could potentially change. But I think that you just let go of the small stuff. You just do.
hmm
I don't really care no more. I might even try the little dry eggs just to see if I like maybe my taste buds will change,
You
I
never
don't
know.
know. Right? Like, but small stuff like that, you just tend to let go because the bigger stuff is you're faithful to me. You're reliable. You're dependable.
Hmm.
You're taking care of the whole house, paying all the bills. Like,
Yeah.
so bring me the eggs. Bring me a
Yeah.
whole plate of eggs, matter of fact. Like, you know what I mean? So you just tend to like let the small things go. But there's other places where he's really intentional because he knows that I'm a certain type of way. And so I can't expect, right? The reality is, if we're talking about
Hmm.
expectations versus reality,
Mhm.
I can't expect him to get it right every single time in every
Right.
single area. So that's kind of how I view that.
So
Because
you know,
So,
I'm definitely not getting it right.
yeah. And it's funny how we're
mhm.
saying like, I'm curious, we're saying in the marriage aspect of it that we're be willing to see past that. So for Marion and Nikki, as you guys are dating or, with or in a relationship with someone, do you feel the same way that you're more willing to, um, see past some of those reality versus expectation issues that you have? Or do you think you're, particularly even for you, Mary, you may be more critical of that just because you're still trying to figure out what exactly, if you're going to fit to even be in a relationship with me?
Yeah, I'd be in the house. But I do keep dang, I don't want to put this whole thing out here. My friend did try to set me up with somebody recently, and he didn't meet my expectations, so it fell flat. And so I don't know, and I do question myself, not too much because it ain't that deep, but was I being too? Did I have too many expectations on? I probably did because he was a lot younger than me. So I was just like,
Mm.
he gotta hit this standard for me to even consider, and he didn't. So he too young. So, but I do wonder if I might not have been being fair with that one.
So it's a little bit
So
more critical, you feel like, in the
on
dating
that.
world of that.
Uh-huh. Hmm.
Hmm.
I can see that though, especially the older
Yeah.
you get.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm too old. Like what?
So
My ex-
people oh, go
my
ahead, Nikki.
my expectations be stuff like, don't text me with letters. Don't text me with WYD. Like I
Oh,
need,
acronyms.
and I literally have like had grown men texting me and I'm like, oh, we're not having no conversation.
Yeah, I can see that.
I'm like, I don't even know what these things mean. Like,
Right.
Yeah, you gotta Google through your whole conversation. Like
no.
Mhm.
So I guess I don't know. My expectations get more petty the older I get.
No,
Well,
I
that's
would be
low
the same
hanging.
because I thought on my age group. If I
That's
was in
low
your
hanging
age group, Nikki,
fruit.
I was
That's low
yeah,
hanging fruit. Like if you can't do, no, we not even going.
yeah,
No,
I agree.
Yeah.
yeah, I
I would
kind
feel
of
like
agree
that.
with
I
that
would feel
one.
somebody in their 50s that's doing that is like trying to be cool to children.
you
Like,
would be
Reliving.
surprised. You would be very.
Especially when you gotta talk to text. All you gotta do is press the button and it'll
Yeah.
spell it out for you.
They even do the period and everything, the
Yes.
exclamation mark.
but I also am very concerned about people's literacy and
Mm.
their written communication skills. That's why. So that's the thing. Like a lot of people hate on texting, but I don't mind it. I mean, after a while, if you really interested in me, you need to call me. Like you got
Mhm.
to show that. But I don't mind, a lot of texting because I want to see what your written communication skills are. Like I can't get with somebody that's illiterate. I'll help you find the resources for that, but you can't date me.
But do you think that sometimes they could be fully literate, but just when they text?
That's a good point.
We be out here judging.
I love hearing y'all stories though, because my daughter is gonna like going into this kind of age where it's just like she's dating and I already know y'all all said that there's piss in the pool, and I'm just like, I'm glad that I'm learning these things and hearing these conversations so that I can have conversations with her, because she should have a level of expectations, right? And so it's just very interesting. So I'm like, girl, if they text you WYD, don't even reply. Now just playing.
If I was her, I'd stay single until grad school, but that's me.
I mean, she's not looking to be in a relationship. It's just knowing that on the other side of all of this is dating and marriage and the options that's before her. Like,
It's a mess.
I'm worried. I'm truly worried. I'm worried.
So I was asking for, I think my thing went completely out. I saw nothing but like 4 black circle screens on my screen. So sorry again, our YouTube audience who's watching us. But Mary, I was asking because you said they'd be literate. So what if they are completely literate, can write well, but on text, they're just like, I miss words and everything on text, but I can write.
Oh no, like if you can tell the difference between a typo and you literally cannot spell, read, or write.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
yeah, no,
Okay.
it's a difference. I can
Okay.
read through typos. I do typos too because I'm moving too fast. And I'm
Me too.
ADHD. My brain is on 5 things at one
Mm.
time.
Or I skip
So
words
yeah.
completely. I'm thinking in like note format and sending out thoughts. I was like, oh, you'll
Oh
hit
yeah.
last someone because they thinking in notes and sent you a message. But if you can, I get
No.
what you're saying. Yeah,
Because I
no.
can read. The funny thing is I can decipher typos. People
Yeah.
be like,
Mhm.
"Oh, I meant." I'm like, "I know what you meant. Like, you
Yeah.
don't gotta. You don't gotta. I know what that says." So
I
yeah,
need to
typos is
start
one
doing some
thing.
abbreviations because I be doing whole paragraphs of people, and I know they be like, I've had people tell me like that is too much. I'm not about to read all that. But
But see, that's why we are illiterate now. I reject that. Like sometimes I get that, like, because I have gotten your books, Tamika.
listen,
But at the same time, there's some things that we as a society in today, like in 2023, we as a society will say it's too much to read. And it's really less than a paragraph. Like it's really like 3 sentences. It's just that it's on our phone and condensed. It looks long.
Mhm.
I remember like I was dating this one guy and he was like, he kept apologizing. I'm sorry I keep sending these books. I said, dude, that was 4 sentences. Like it just, but it did.
But
Like it
people
just,
complain about it.
but
People
that's what I'm
complain
saying.
about
And
it.
so where have we gotten that we can't read
Mhm.
4 sentences? Like it's
Because our minds
sad.
is because
People
look at
do
the
not want to
phone.
read. Listen,
Yeah.
every time I put a picture up of me and my husband, automatically I get a whole bunch of happy anniversaries. I'm like, did you even read the caption? We don't have 10 anniversaries per year, guys. I just said it in August. Like, I just said it last
I
month.
hate
It's
that.
not this month, too. Like, the
I
whole reading
hate
thing, it's very
that.
so now I'm like putting in parentheses at the bottom or like the little stars. It is not our anniversary. Because I'm not gonna like your stuff. I'm not gonna respond to you. I'm just gonna ignore you if you on here and you not reading.
Uh-huh.
Facts. Facts.
Well, reading is one of your expectations, Marion. We need to
Yes.
make sure you know how to
Mine too.
read and write in paragraph format with the correct punctuation marks and grammar,
No, so
semicolon versus comma.
that's not a requirement, but you do get brownie points
Y'all
if
hear
your
that?
text
If
are
y'all
grammatically correct.
listening.
Exactly right, Shamika. You gotta put it in there.
Yeah. Listen, and if we only got women listening now, if y'all got brothers, uncles,
There we
Marion,
go.
she's available.
Uh-huh.
Looking
Nobody
for
under
her
the age
a
of
holy
33
Christian man.
Yes.
Nobody under the age. Please no, not under the age of
that
33.
love black folk.
What
That
you
love black folk.
uh,
Jesus and black. They gotta love Jesus and black folk. They gotta love the community. Cause I remember
yes.
that being an issue at one point. They gotta love their community, all of that good stuff.
We need to have a little dating
Yeah, I was
video.
just thinking that we're gonna have a
Yes.
dating episode for Mary. We're gonna have some bachelors come up on here, and I can
Oh
pull them up on the
yes.
screen and be like, and
Yes.
we can interview them and ask them questions.
Like a game show.
Yes.
Oh yes. I
Y'all
love
put
it.
y'all tag your brothers and your cousins and your uncles and all that.
Yes.
And you might even you'll take a daddy. You'll take a daddy.
Yeah, I would. I mean, if I
Like
wasn't
one of our
married, but
daddies?
as daddy, like a nice older gentleman.
Mm-mm.
Oh God, no. Okay, no daddies, just uncles, cousins, and brothers.
Between the
and
ages of
friends
like
and co-workers.
33 and like 47.
Okay.
That's a
good
zaddy,
range.
girl. 47.
No, I feel like a zaddy is like
I'm
60
35.
and up. I think
Yeah,
a zaddy
no.
is like 60 and up.
You're the same age as my father. Stop.
But some of them look really good. What are you
Yes, they
talking about?
do. I love me
How old
some
is your
Del Boy
dad, Marion?
Lindo, but he better not ever holler at me. What? Ugh.
How old is your dad, Marion?
65.
Oh yeah, no, we can't do six. I wasn't thinking 65-year-olds.
Yeah, my parents is appropriately aged.
All right, so we had 33. So y'all, soon in the future, we gonna have a little dating episode of
They
me
gotta
and
be a
Marion.
mature 33 though. Don't tag them if they're not
Mhm.
mature. Y'all know. Don't send us nobody you wouldn't want to be with. First of all, let's put that preference out there.
Ooh,
I
good
don't
point.
know. That's not even because some people be with a lot of things.
Well, they're not gonna send us the stuff they don't want to be with, so that's gonna eliminate half of it.
There we go. There you go. Or email us,
Oh yes,
momskatemedia@gmail with a picture and a brief bio
yes,
of
and
who's getting in it.
we need his
Yes,
social media handle as well
yes.
because we need to look. We need to
That
investigate.
part.
hmm Oh, I'm so excited.
Why am I even posting it? I'm not. Why am I ad-libbing this? Like, what?
And Nikki ain't saying nothing. Nikki, what you gotta say? You ain't with us?
No.
Nikki got a boo.
No.
She said no. Why not? Would you not go this route to like get like people be finding people on like dating websites and stuff? Like,
Absolutely not. No.
oh
I'm
my
not doing no
goodness.
website or no apps. That's no.
Well, the lady that used to live across the street from me, she found her husband on there, and they have like 3 kids now.
I
They've
know a
been
lot of
married for
people
a
that
while.
found theirs on it, but I'm not getting back on there. Did there, done that. Got the
Yeah.
t-shirt. No, thank you.
We need a whole episode about dating apps and stuff. Oh
Ugh.
goodness.
Ghetto, very ghetto. Do not recommend.
We'll be
I was on a
continuing her there.
call. Yes, I was on a call last night. I was talking to somebody who went on a grown and sexy cruise, and they were saying that people met on there and they became spouses. They got
I
married.
would do that.
That's in person, so that makes sense. You get to actually see the person in person.
I don't know. I didn't agree to going on the because grown and sexy to me cruise sound like hookups. So I was just like, oh really? They got married? And she was like, yeah. People say they met on there. No, okay.
Mhm.
That would be fun.
That's what I was, and that's it's funny because I was gonna say that too. I was like, I would do that, but they probably wouldn't like me because I'm not just hooking up with nobody on no random cruise ship.
But not everybody would be like that. It's also like she said, she has to meet somebody. I would read it that it's grown people that are single that are looking to mingle and,
I think if I
see
met
what,
somebody on something like that, that probably would have a lot of promise because like we like these things, but that don't mean we're for the shenanigans. And I feel like that's hard to find because most people
yeah,
be for the shenanigans. So if we like the 2 people on the ship that don't want to
Y'all
we have
just
a good tip.
accidentally bump into each other. It's just, and they talk about the amount of women to men on the earth too. And I'm just like, I'm praying for my girls. Like
Girl, I give up every
because
other
my
day.
son, he got a lot of options. But the girls, it's a lot. It's a lot. Okay, y'all. We don't went on a whole other tangent. Back to this expectation versus reality. So the next thing I think we were talking about was like work and business.
Yeah.
What do y'all feel? Nikki, what's your thoughts on the work expectations and business?
I don't know. Well, okay, so currently my expectations do not match my reality because we are 3 years post pandemic and they want me to physically come back to the office. And I totally am not about that life anymore. I'm not about that life anymore. And so I have to live in the current reality while I keep my expectations, like what it is that I really want to create in the forefront of my mind to leap out of one world into the other one. Um, conversation with we're talking about kind of like this thing about like her wanting to get a promotion
Mm-hmm.
happening, and um, we had the conversation about them not seeing the value in what she was providing, what she was doing.
Mm.
She was like, they just don't see the value.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, we were having conversations about what we need to do. You know what I'm saying? Like we can't force, like you can't force someone to see the company to uh grant me a pass. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, oh, so what you gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
It somehow always goes back to it being about you and you making a choice of empowering yourself, to not trying to make other people bend to what you desire, what you want. So that's what I think about it. I mean, in terms of career, like there's a lot of things we set up expectations for that I think at that point you got to figure out what you do want first of all, and then what you're gonna do in order to make that happen.
So it's funny from what you're saying, because it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, Nikki, like when it comes to like our spouses and our friendships, we have the expectations, but we need to communicate those, and sometimes they may be false expectations. But what I hear you saying is that when it comes to like your career, and your work, that the expectations, they are what they are and they're non-negotiable. Is that what I hear?
What I want, and that is just I'm gonna see if it's negotiable. I'm not just gonna sit back and like, oh, well, that's what it is, and I'm just gonna take it. I'm gonna see if it's negotiable. But then if it's not, then I have choices to make.
Mm-hmm.
But do you feel like you have that same outlook when it comes to your friendships and in your current dating situation?
Being vocal, yeah, because that's the part of the authenticity part. You know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
and am I communicating that with the other party? But see, at work, now y'all can talk, when it comes to business, and to just say what we need to say to be under the radar or feel like, oh, we
Mm-hmm.
can't say this to certain people or to
Yeah.
leadership and things like that. But as of late, I felt more empowered to be true, like no matter how crazy it sounds, before the pandemic even happened and I was putting a request to work remote, and at that time they were like if they let somebody work remote, they were only going to approve 1 day a week. And
Mm.
I kindly turned in my paper with all 5 days on them.
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
right.
And she was and my manager asked, and I was like, well, I'm gonna stay true to what I want because this is what I want,
Mm.
and I'm not like I just got to a point where I was like, I have to what I truly desire is not gonna find me if I'm perpetrating a fraud and lying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear that. Nope, that's true. I think so.
So,
Oh, go ahead, Mary.
so is I'm wondering though, and maybe I part of what you said, Nikki, but are you saying we should be that staunch, that we should always be direct, but like, should we stand flat-footed in that across all things, or is there like, when it comes to dealing with people, because dealing with a job and dealing with the people that you love, is there a difference? Or can you go too far when it comes to relationships in that? Should it be more of a push pull, or should you always be like, no, this is the kind of friends that I want in my life. This is the kind of man that I want in my life. And if you can't provide that, maybe we should part ways. Like,
Ooh.
I mean, I think either way, because I could end up without a job and someone could end up without a friend or a man, you know, like. But I mean, it's not about, like, I'm not trying to push that hard by all means. You know, I know it's a business, you know what I'm saying? So I have to balance it with what I think is fair, and then also knowing that the business cares about the business.
Right. Y'all that right.
Yeah, the business cares about the business. So I'm like, but I'm just like, okay, so how can I get what I want and take me out of the pool of, you know, I still deliver based on their expectations of why they hired me.
I kind of agree with what Nikki is saying as well. I think at work is one of those ones that um I'm looking a little different, like your expectations of what your employer wants, you want to hold steadfast to that. And I look at it more of as value. Because I've been at companies where I felt like I was not valued, but I know that what I came with, I know what I am worth. And it's like my expectation is that you value me. I'm going to do what I have to do. But and sometimes if that reality is not there, then sometimes that is a discussion of either A, then I need to go to another department, do I need to look for another job? Because I I personally just think that that should be as much aligned opposed to, like, your friendships and your relationships, as Mary was saying. I feel like that is more of a pull, whatever, a pull tug, which what Marion was suggesting, for the simple fact that you're going to compromise at certain things. But I feel like with that work, because there's set rules, this is what your JD says, this is what you're supposed to do. This is what I'm going to hold you accountable for. Then it's the same thing. Well, this is what I'm going to do, but I also expect you to value me, give me the work that it is. Don't, treat me any other kind of way, because I guess what I call HR. Like, it's totally different, in that world of work, and setting that just to make sure that you are appreciated and everything of that sort. So I kind of look at it like from the workspace as that. And then for business, like your own personal business, I look like the expectations of your own personal businesses. I mean, like your other businesses that are not through an employer, is that for me is my own expectations. I'm battling myself of expectations versus reality of what I'm thinking in my head is happening, and then what in reality is happening. And then that's a battle. You battling yourself and your own expectations and reality. That's a beast of its own. So, yeah, that work thing that's the tough one. You got to just try to make sure that value, and they see that same thing for what they expect out of you.
But I have a funny story. A friend of mine, she tells this story about her husband, because this goes back around to the, is it you? She said her husband was always coming home complaining about the people at work. They this and they that, and they did this and they did that. And then he would find another job, it'll be okay. And then he'll start with the story again. And then another, she said, wait a minute now. They follow? Did they follow you? So sometimes it don't be the job, or it don't be the person, it be.
Yes.
Why I keep attracting this same treatment or this same behavior or situation everywhere I go.
And that can go back into dating and friendships as well. So yes.
You dating the
I
same
think
person with a different head.
right. I think the value point that you brought up, Tiffany, that the value doesn't change no matter what. Because even in a marriage, dating, and in friendships, like you need to be valued, or your value needs to be seen. But I'm just gonna throw this question out there, and then I can get perspective from business because I haven't worked in a really long time. But are we being fair? Like, are we being fair to the companies to say that I'm willing to bend when it comes to friendships and it comes to marriage and dating, but when it comes to the company, and I mean, I'm asking myself the same question because I worked in corporate for a really long time. Like, was I fair? And it's just like, nope, this is what it is. I want this, and if you can't give me this, then deuces, I'm out.
I think so to an extent. If they're
Is that
willing,
Why do
fair
they
though?
deserve? Why do they
well,
deserve
no,
fairness?
if they're yeah, like
But you're
as long as
giving
they're willing
fair
to work with
because
you.
at the end of the day, it's still a person behind all of it. So
A
That
if you're
millionaire?
giving, it
that
don't matter
business.
how much money you could be about dating a millionaire. You still not gonna be fair with them.
No, because guess what? That
No,
business
it's
today,
different.
you can go break your leg, and that business is not gonna care about you. They're gonna go replace you the next day with
I
somebody
agree with
else.
that. I agree with
So
that.
That
But
I
if
is
they
don't.
hired
exactly.
you to do something and you knew the terms when you got hired, but then you in it and you like, nope, is
Oh,
that
that's
fair?
different. That's different. I'm not saying when
But
I
you
was
took the
expecting.
job. So that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah,
even at some point, if you feel like I got expectations, like you knew what it was before you took the job. Like, so, and I'm
right.
asking myself the same thing too. I'm just throwing it out there. Is it fair?
Yeah. No, I think that is something different. You should do what your JD has. What it is so when it's less than, that's what I was referring to, the less than part. If I came in at this is what I'm doing. And then you have times where, I've been at jobs too, like where you get to the point like, well, I'm not even going above and beyond anymore. I'm not going to be proactive with this. I'm gonna do just what this expectation is, and
Mm-hmm.
that's it. So that's the side that, I was coming from in terms of the
Mhm.
that part of it or such. But I get what you're saying in general, though. Definitely get that. But some people they don't give a hoot. They just like, I'm here. I don't care what this JD said. I'm here. But you had said for you,
Yeah,
Jamaica,
that's
you had
wrong.
for business. What were you going to say?
So, two different things I want to talk about, just finishing the conversation that we're currently having, because I am I'm a small business owner. And so being on the brink of, like, in the very near future, I'm gonna have employees, right? And so I don't want my employees to not be fair to me. Like, this was a job description. You came in, you took it, but now you like, sis, I need 2 days off a week. And if you can't give it to me, or my weekend days, like, I'm going by deuces. This is like, sis, you
Yeah.
signed up for this. Like, and
Hmm.
so I'm just thinking along those lines, even though I did stuff, I'm being completely honest, I did stuff that was not fair. I would go to work. Sometimes I would half perform. I will perform at minimum level. And so I did think I used to print at work. Like,
Oh,
so,
me too.
I'm
Everybody did that.
so I'm being
Basically.
honest, like, there was times where I was not fair, but then now that I'm on the other side of it, like, looking to hire people, it's like, okay, Trimika, like, you remember all that stuff you was doing? And, and so my thing is, like, maybe what should I give my employees so that we don't even have that whole, like, expectations versus reality thing. But so that's the reason why I'm asking and kind of throwing that out there. But
But I feel like
expectation of oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I feel like that whole value thing. I mean, for good employees, because sometimes you just got trash employees, So get them out the way. When you have good employees, if you pay them a good wage, a living wage,
Fair
not even
wage.
just a living wage, that's the bare minimum. If you pay them um what they are actually worth, invest in them, show them how they're
Mhm.
valuable to the company and how they are appreciated,
Yes.
you the more than likely get, top-notch performance.
Yes. I
So,
agree. And people who want to go above and beyond for you and want to be
mhm,
proactive for you.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think I have always been. I think I have. I've always had good work situations. I worked for decent people. Um, so I'm thankful for that. But I was gonna say, in your sense, Tramika, if you're asking a person to do a particular thing and they're delivering on the thing, see, it's different when you are in a situation like yours. You're contracting somebody to do something for you. They either deliver or they don't. Whereas in the corporate environment, sometimes, whether you're delivering or not, there's still just this aspect of need to control and micromanage
Mm,
for no reason,
Yes.
just because they can and they
Yes.
want to.
Mhm.
yeah, that makes sense. So I didn't think about it that way. So that definitely makes sense. And I guess from your perspective now, I do hire people, but it is per contract. But I was thinking in terms of long-term employees, but that still makes sense. Like there's no need to control and micromanage. And I've been in environments like that too. So I definitely do get it. In that conversation can go so left as well, but I will say that I want to talk about the expectation versus reality when it comes to being a business owner. So entrepreneurship kind of fell in my lap. Like it literally chased me down. It was not anything that I was looking for. My husband wanted me to be a stay-at-home mom, and so I kind of just was like, okay, got bored with that. Was like, I got to do something. I've been working since I was 15. I got to do something, and so I kind of went into entrepreneurship. The expectation of what I thought it was going to be versus what it really is. Oh my gosh. Wait, we can't just pass how she was yelling at these kids. This is why we need this escape. Oh my God. We can't even pretend like it did happen. Tiffany, and you know Tiffany is hilarious. Yeah, oh my
For
God.
the listeners that are not watching, Tiffany said she had to go off screen because she heard her kids up to tell them to go to bed. And if you're listening, you heard her scream, "Go to bed!" She went off
Oh
screen and
God.
didn't mute.
Yeah, I had to mute her. That is
But
hilarious.
this is
This
Yes.
is
real life,
literally why. This is
man.
literally why we
This
need to
is real
escape.
life.
Oh my God. But so going back to the entrepreneurship thing, like I guess because I never researched it, I never desired it and things of that nature. When you're looking at other people on social media or other people that you may know who have their own business, I just thought it was just really going to be very much easier than what it was. It's hard as heck. Okay, like there's been many times where I'm just like, forget it, I'm giving up. I'm looking through Indeed, like who hiring? Cause I can just go and do bare minimum, like I talked about, and I'm still gonna get my check at the end of the day. I'm tired of chasing these people, trying to tell them what I'm selling. They don't want it, they telling me no. Like, who wants to do that? Who wants the rejection all day, every day? And so I think you have to have tough skin to be an entrepreneur, one. But yeah, my expectation of what it was gonna be was totally different than the reality of it. It's really hard. And I think that if anybody tell you different, that they're lying. Like there's always going to be some aspect. Either you're going to work long hours, you be away from your family while you're building it. You know, you're like, for my thing, I'm not good at sales, so I'm out here trying to sell to people and don't want to sell it. So it's just some aspect of it that's going to be super hard. And then we look at these people on social media and you see stuff, because I keep telling, when am I going to drop a conference link and it just gets sold out in 30 minutes? Like, you see all this stuff all the time. These people say that it got sold out in 7 minutes. Where, sis? Where they do that at? So I can get them my stuff. So I can put it in front of, put my stuff in front of them. So definitely a huge difference between what I expected and what the reality was, for sure.
So, to me, did you expect it? I missed a little part of that. Did you expect it because
But we did not miss you yelling at your kids and all the listeners.
I thought I put myself on mute?
You did, I did, boo. But
I'm glad you did. Oh my goodness, I didn't. Oh,
it's okay. We just explain to them this is why we need to escape every week, because stuff like that. Like, I told you to go to bed 10 minutes ago. What you doing? Like, that was hilarious. We
I'm
couldn't
so
help but
sorry, you
laugh.
guys. I mean, I sat down. My computer was on mute, though. You put me on mute.
I put you on mute.
Oh
Mhm.
lordy. Okay. Well, y'all.
Moms be
um,
momming.
exactly. Okay. Well, over my hollering at my dang on kids to go take the little butts to bed.
We
Um,
get it.
is I may have missed it. You said your expectations. Did you said it was from what you saw on social media? Was that what you were saying, or it was just in general?
Yeah, like entrepreneurship kind of fell in my lap. It wasn't anything that I was looking for. And so it was just the ideal of being a stay-at-home mom. I was bored and I needed something to do. Like I'm a worker. That's
Mhm.
just who I am.
Yeah.
And so from what I seen, people I knew that had businesses, and then yes, what I seen on social media and stuff, I just thought that it would be a little bit easier. And even if not initially over time, like I've been doing this for some years, it's like, okay, God, where's the easy part? And so
Yeah.
it's always just something different. But it's tough. Like you have to have tough
Mhm.
skin to be a business owner for sure.
And I think social media uh, makes those expectations, I guess you say, worse nowadays because we
Mhm.
know they can show it. And like, for instance, that example you gave 7 minutes. Do we really know if it was sold out in 7 minutes or were
We
they
don't.
doing that, for the hype? Or when they're smiling and look at me doing this and they cut the camera off and they looking rolling their eyes and everything. So I feel like something in the days and nowadays, because of social media, like you said, it's
Mhm.
looking and you're comparing yourself and everything. We're all at fault of that. To what is being seen on Energy Saver. What is being seen on social media is such, which can kind of skew. Oh, my computer, my charger popped out. Y'all, today is just crazy day with this technology. Got Energy Saver mode on,
Girl,
realized that the
listen.
computer charger wasn't
Is
even in.
Mercury in retrograde? Does
I was
anybody
going to
know?
say, I wonder if something's in.
Because
If
it's
what did you
been,
say?
I said, is Mercury in retrograde? Does anybody know? Because it's literally been issues for me all day.
Oh my goodness.
Um, I was gonna say, what was I gonna say about the expectation? Tough
In
skin.
business.
Yeah, I was saying, and I better go gas this car up and start taking my behind to work.
But everybody's journey is different. It's just work, period. So, like, if anybody tell you that it's not hard work because you're building something, like it's hard work. But I think that some people have a different, like my experience in entrepreneurship, because I started with the event planning and I kind of went left by somebody's suggestion. Now don't get me wrong, I gained a lot of friendships, relationships. I learned a lot. So I'm not regretful that I kind of went into the whole life coaching stuff. But because I went to that and now I'm back 7 years later or 5 years or however many years, like, oh, okay, now I want to really go back. If I would have kept building on the event planning from the beginning, it may be a little bit different for me now. But then Momskate would have never
But
been
you
birthed
wouldn't know
either.
us.
So right, and right, I gained a lot of relationships along the way, so I won't say that I'm regretful for it, but my journey is not the same. Some people like, okay, I know that I want to sell bathtubs. I'm just something random, right? And so they started 17 years ago, and by some point, I'm sure there was some type of ease, but because I feel like I'm just always starting, that's not been my journey.
So one
So
thing
I
you
say that
said,
to say, but hold on, I say that to
you're
say
right.
that you don't have to gas up your car. Like your journey on for your entrepreneurship and your business may go totally different.
One thing too, Trini said this. I thought of myself a little bit was when you said when other people expected you to do something else, and then that leads to when is it that in all areas, right, where we're talking about business, work, relationship, whatever, is that when someone else somehow what they're saying sways you, right, to go maybe a different path
Hmm.
than what you intentionally thought or wanted or had to reflect and say no type of thing. And I know for myself, I've been through that regarding like some kind of business stuff. Like, I've shared with you, I don't know if I shared with it on this whole platform, but how I had to scale back the Ashe line and all of that. But it was
Hmm.
everyone was just like, you should keep going. You should do this. You've had this
Hmm.
happen, this happen, this happen. And initially I kept going because I'm like, yeah, you're right. These people, like, this is the expectation for me. And you have
Hmm.
this customer base, and I'm just going and going. And then it was finally, and then, as I did share on this platform with the stress and everything. And then finally, I had to have some time to myself. I sat there on myself, prayed about it and everything. And I said, let me just let things come to it as it is. And I was like, that's not what I want. Like this is just not the same.
Mhm.
But I just had everyone's expectation of what they thought I should do, and I let it get to me and
Hmm.
felt the same way. I should do this until it was a reality. I had to check myself and be like, hold on, I can't meet everybody's um expectations.
Yeah, I agree. I would say for me, I'm not again not regretful. Like I learned a lot through the journey, and I met a lot of people, like in business, personally, all of that, right? Clients. But I know for me truly now, like when I tell y'all I love planning, like it just does something for me. And so now I know that I'm in my sweet spot. And so the expectations may change now as far well, my expectations may become a reality. Like how, oh, it's your dream career or job or profession and it's gonna go like this. I think that now that I'm in my sweet spot, that some of those expectations that I have will become my reality, if that makes sense.
Yes, it will.
Mhm. When you on your own path, your purpose, your journey, when you in that right spot, that's where everything happened.
Yes. And I know the last thing that we was going to talk about in regards to expectations versus reality is motherhood. I'm not really sure we need to go in it because the expectation was for Tiffany kids to go to bed, and the reality is they was upstairs chilling. So we already know that don't go as expected. Listen,
Yes,
you
prime example. And but I didn't hear their little somebody must have been chasing someone or whatever, jumped off something. If I didn't hear that, I would have assumed because I'm like, you guys, 8:30, make sure Chris, my oldest daughter, make sure you go take everyone to bed. She was the one. I heard them as soon as I yelling, move, move, mommy's over here.
that is hilarious.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know if anybody has any other stories they want to share before we end tonight's episode about that particular topic.
maybe we can wrap it with that one.
All I'm gonna say is I got a teenager now. Send help. I'll take all the advice you got. Anybody or
I'll,
whatever
I'll
you
just
got.
say, I'll just say that as parents, I think sometimes we put like we talking about expectation. I think we put a lot of expectations on our kids,
Oh yeah.
um, and
That's a whole nother episode.
it's so
Mhm.
unfair. It's so unfair. It's so unfair. And I remember in college, and I remember my pastor. I was okay. So here's the thing: like the pastors of the church that I was going to, their daughter just had this put on their kids because there was just this story that she was a virgin until she was an adult and
Mm,
she went to college and she became a doctor and like it was just all this and I think a lot of people was see because you see something that you really never saw before and you're like oh it's
mhm,
possible so you think
mhm,
your kids can do it and I think a lot of people had that put that expectation on their own
Look
kids
at that. I want that.
and I it was either she was getting ready to quit or something, but I remember talking to the pastor, the wife, and I thought she was going to have a whole different reaction because of all the things that her daughter had. She was like, why are you tied to a particular outcome?
mhm,
And she said, basically, kind of like it was like, why isn't what she's already done enough?
mm.
And I
Ooh,
was like, hmm.
she was talking about the
And
daughter.
be about me, about my daughter. Yeah.
Mhm,
Oh, I
Yeah.
missed that part.
Why isn't it enough? And why, like, why are you so tied to what her outcome is? And
mhm,
so by that time I realized, oh wow, like she's her own adult. She's on her own journey. And
Mm.
I really had to detach myself out
Mm.
was, especially knowing where she started from from me, so
That's good though. That's really good.
I
Nikki,
feel
how
like
old?
that's gonna be for y'all adult parenting episode, and I can't wait for that because I am an adult child. And so between Jamaica, you going into adult parenting, Nikki is a veteran adult parent, and I am an adult child. Well, I guess Tiffany, you are too. But
No, no, my eldest is much younger. She's not at
no,
that
I'm
part yet.
saying you are an adult child. Like you have parents. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nikki, I was going to ask you, how old was your daughter when your friend or whomever had made the comment about you need to detach? Like, well, where you realize you have to detach from her?
it was like early 20, like maybe like 20, 21,
Oh,
something like
wow.
that. Mhm. Yeah.
Did you find it like going through that journey of detaching? Was it difficult, or did you still find yourself wanting to,
It was, I can't remember. Was it difficult? It made sense. Like it really made sense. It was like, why are you tied to a particular outcome?
Mhm.
Like, because I think as parents, any and then I had to do it both ways. So decisions or choices that we don't like, we tie that to what kind of parent we are. And if
Hmm.
you look like a bad parent, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, um, then that I didn't agree with or that I thought was amazing, I always um, cheer for her. But then I realized that's no reflection. That's not. A, I take some credit, but it's not a. It's not
yeah, their journey isn't a reflection of us.
And
So let's
I learned the
hear.
opposite of that just recently because as she's going on, my daughter like being in her freshman year of college and stuff, I looked at it like not that I was giving credit to where she is and because she's doing amazing things. It was more like if she doesn't do those amazing things, that I felt like a bad parent. So I had to really let that go. But
Mm.
it took me a minute to kind of go through that process. And I will say, Nikki, you bringing up the whole our like when we initially brought the topic to the forefront, it was like our expectations versus reality with motherhood, right? But the fact that you brought up like all the expectations we put on our kids,
Yeah.
and I know from her with her, like literally, I had to apologize. Like I think me and my husband, we apologized to her on her 16th birthday because we were young when we had her. I was 19. And so her success was our success as a parent, right? People wanted
Mhm.
me to have an abortion. They were saying, let my mama raise her, give her up for adoption. Like, oh, these were all the things that I was hearing having her as a young kid. Like, your life will never be the same, it's going to change, which it did, but it wasn't necessarily the worst thing in the world, right? And so it was like we collectively, her as well, we have to be successful because your success is now dictated or tied to my success, when really it wasn't.
Mm.
The fact that I didn't abort her, the fact that I didn't give her up for adoption, the fact that I kept her and I raised her, right? That all was success. That I didn't
Yes.
need any more, but her success going through. And so we pushed her more than we did our other kids. Because you're different parents when you're parent all kids. Nikki and Mary, I only have one, so y'all may not be able to attest to that. But every single kid, they get to experience a different person. And like my son, I won't necessarily say he had it the best, but he has the most evolved parent, right? Because going healing, going to therapy and stuff like that. And so I remember like her high school graduation, it was my graduation too. Like I graduated from being a teen parent. And
Oh,
so it was really, really deep for the both of us, me and my husband. And like her success and stuff in college now, because I went through this process and I learned like this is her success. this necessarily doesn't, the roots and the foundation has to do with you, but all the other stuff, because she's making the choices, she don't have to make the choices that she's making. But it took me a while to kind of, get to that point. And so I think that it is true that because of our failures or our past experiences, that we sometimes put these false expectations. Even, I don't know if you can attest to it, Mariana, you talk about being a single mom. Like, do you have these expectations on your son that you have to be a certain way because I'm a single mom?
Yes, especially now, because it's like the new trend is to every time a black man or young boy does something unsavory, the automatic response is he must have been raised by a single mom.
Mm.
So I was already, I mean, so it's twofold. So I'm from a, pretty much impoverished small black town. Um, and shout out to my parents. I lived a pretty privileged life compared to, some of my classmates. So I got to see, what our community could be, but I got to live a whole other life, not that, we wasn't rich, but I lived in a two-parent household, and we had a house that wasn't the norm across my entire, school or whatever. Um, so I knew what I did want and what I didn't want for my kid. So that's that all right. Like before this whole trend of blaming single moms, I want him at a certain standard regardless, just because I
Mm-hmm.
know what's out there for us in our community. But then on top of that, now y'all are blaming us women who have children who chose, like you said, Tramika, chose to keep and raise our children regardless of what their fathers decide to do. you know Now we're demonized for it, and so
Mm.
now it's kind of like, oh yeah, but you're not going to be that.
Yeah.
So, and that probably is bad, because he
Yeah,
didn't
it's
ask
not
for
fair
that.
to him.
Yeah, it's not he didn't ask for that pressure. But I also, but even before the trend, he was always going to have that standard, because I'm doing all that I can to set him up for success. Now, if he gets
Mm-hmm.
everything that he can, everything that I have to offer, and as an adult he decides to just throw it all away, like there's nothing I can do about that. Because that's one thing. My mom was one of those. I don't know if she tied her success to ours. I don't know why she would. Like, like she didn't have any tropes or whatever, um, or stigmas. But I had to tell her when me and my brother became adults, like sometimes we just gonna mess up. Like that doesn't mean
Mm-hmm.
you didn't raise us well. You raised us just
Mhm.
fine. Sometimes we just make poor decisions.
Yeah.
And that's not a reflection of you. So I don't, like, my mom used to lose sleep over our bad decisions. I don't want that to happen. And like, I'll be 39 when he's 18, and I don't want to live out my 40s and 50s, wringing my hands and losing sleep over what he's doing. Like, of course, mom's always gonna worry about their babies, but I'm talking about beyond that. I don't want that. So I'm holding him to a standard, and I'm holding myself to a standard to give him the best that I can now, so that I know when he's an adult, I did do the best that I could. And now it's up to him. So
Yeah.
I'll let y'all know in about 5 years if it work out.
And you'll see small subtle stuff that they'll do. Like one time my daughter, very mature, her called us, had a conversation about the type of environment she wants to be in, like, campus, type of people she wanted to be around, talking about the future that she wanted for herself. And we like, girl, you 19 and you talking like this, like super proud. And so you'll start that helps you detach. So that's where I'm going with that. It helps you detach, that when you see these small subtle things, like, man, I really did do a good job. And no, I'm not responsible for every choice that they're making. They are going to make mistakes. Now, do I want to be there to like help them so that the fall is not as hard? Absolutely, right?
Mhm.
Absolutely.
But we do
Yes.
have to know, to all moms listening, like, and dads for that matter, like, you are not the cause of your child's bad choices, or choices that are not, that you don't agree with, or that are not so great, right? Like you set the foundation, you do all the things for them, and then you allow them to live life. I was listening to a podcast, I think Marriage Be Hard with Miss Kevin on stage and all them. They had Tabitha Brown. And one of the things that Tabitha Brown husband said, Chance, he said that I'm not always here. Dang, I don't even remember. It was saying like, something to the extent of you can't always live with me, but you can always rely on me. And I thought that was like
Mhm.
really, really good, is because I'm gonna let you spread your wings. This is how I perceive it. I'm gonna let you spread your wings and make your choices. But if something happened, I got your back, but I'm basically not gonna, cripple you
Yeah,
or, be a crutch for you. So that was really good.
I like
That's how
that.
my parents are.
Mhm.
I'm ready. I'm ready to transition and have that type of relationship. Anybody else before we head off tonight want to share their expectation versus reality when it comes to motherhood? I think that could have been a whole nother episode by itself too.
Honey.
Yeah.
Well, because I was gonna say like this whole teenage thing is a thing, but like I didn't really have expectations. I feel like I had low expectations and he has superseded or underseeded like these teenage. I thought I knew. I had no clue.
I don't know why people don't tell us though. Those are like the roughest years. Like, and people just they keep it a secret. Like, child, I'm just gonna let her just walk up on it. Like,
But
I
see,
need you
and
to warn me.
I
Warn
thought
me.
I had a good idea. Like I didn't think it was gonna be sunshine and roses, and I knew my kid wasn't exempt from
Child, it punched
shenanigans.
us in the face, okay? For real. Like, I'm
Yeah,
serious. Like, to the point where some days I didn't even think I was gonna make it. But
Mhm.
we making it day by day because we got a
good.
preteen and a teen and then a young adult.
He just turned 13 in November. Like it ain't been a whole 6 months, and I'm like, by Christmas, I was like, listen.
A whole month later.
Ooh.
All
So
right,
yeah, y'all
y'all.
pray for me. Send help. If anybody has advice on how to raise teenage boys, especially as a single mom, I do have mentors and all the things. But yeah, you can email us at
This is a help
momscapemedia@gmail.com.
episode for Mary, all between her dating and her
Help.
men her
Help.
Y'all can
support.
ignore that dating thing, but
This is a good one. So
oh my
Yes.
goodness.
So we are like so overtime, out of time,
Yeah.
all
Nikki's
the
on mute.
things. Yes, I hope that you all have enjoyed this episode. Marion, you can take us out.
Yeah. So continue the conversation, please.
Yes.
Obviously we want you to like, we want you to share, we want you to subscribe and hit the notification bell on YouTube, so that you and another mom can be here next week on our weekly Mom Escape. But we also want you to comment, start a dialogue. Let's talk about this thing. Email us at momscapemedia@gmail.com. Send us an email if you have an idea for a topic, if you have a story you want to send us, if you want advice. Not that we ain't gurus, but we experience mom. We can give our take on it or whatever. Just something you want to share with us. Advice on teenage boys. momscapemedia@gmail.com. So we are now on Spotify. We are on Amazon Music.
Woo-hoo.
We are
Yes,
on Google Podcasts.
yes.
We working on Apple Podcasts. It's being stupid. Uh, so yeah, hit us up on there. Leave comments. Rate us. Give us a 5-star rating. And I think that's it. Is that it? Yeah, that's it. And we will see y'all next time. I'm hungry. I got chili sitting right here.
All
I'm
right.
hungry and I'm sleepy. We love y'all. Bye,
All
Mom
right.
Squad.
Good
Bye.
night.